afternoon. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. And the meeting of the Standing Finance Committee will now resume. I wish to invite the committee under announcements that the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisessa, MP, Member for Siparia, and Dr. Fuad Khan, MP, Member for Baratara Sanwan, have asked to be excused from today's meeting of the Standing Finance Committee. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 81-2 and 8, the estimates containing the details of the financial requirements along with the appropriation bill have been referred to this committee for consideration. The documents before the committee therefore include the draft estimates, details of estimates of recurrent expenditure, draft estimates of revenue and expenditure of the statutory boards and similar bodies and of the Tobago House of Assembly, draft estimates of development program, and the appropriation financial year 2018 bill 2017. In accordance with Standing Order 85-1, the consideration of the clauses of the bill will be postponed until after the consideration of the schedule, which lists the heads of expenditure to be approved. The heads will be considered in the order submitted by the Leader of the Opposition. As regards our proposed work schedule, you are reminded that the committee agreed to meet as follows. Today, beginning at 1:30 p.m., tomorrow, Tuesday, October 17, 2017 at 10 a.m., Thursday, October 19, 2017 at 1:30 p.m., Friday, October 20th, 2017 at 10 a.m., and you are reminded that the start time for Monday, October 23rd, 2017 is still to be determined. Honorable members, you are also reminded that we agreed that we consider a minimum of 8 heads of expenditure each day in order to complete our work program in the 5 allotted days. You are also reminded that the procedure for each head of expenditure shall be as follows. 1. The head and the amount to be approved will be announced by the chair. The minister will then be given the option to make a brief opening statement. The chairman will then propose the question that the sum proposed stand part of the schedule. For each head of expenditure, the chairman will call the subhead followed by the item. The sub-items shall not be called. Discussion can ensue on the items called or the relevant sub-item and clarification sought. Once the committee moves to another subhead, questions from a previous subhead will not be entertained. This procedure will be also repeated for the development program. Once this is concluded, the chair will then put the question that the sums stand part of the schedule. The procedure will be repeated for each head of expenditure. Honorable members, you are reminded that in accordance with Standing Order 45-1, the speaking time in the Standing Finance Committee shall not exceed 5 minutes on each intervention. We have invited the accounting officers and the technocrats for the various ministries and entities to arrive at specific times during the day. So I want to urge us all to try to adhere to the agreed schedule. So that we now move on to the first head. Okay, and we begin with head 43, the Ministry of Works and Transport. Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, the sum of $2,343,542,325. I now invite the Minister of Works and Transport to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes. Minister.
Madam Chairman, let me begin by sharing a brief overview of the ministry listed as Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport. the Ministry of Works and Transport is responsible for the provision of quality infrastructure and regulatory framework in road, drainage, coastal, and the building sector. In addition, the ministry also provides the land, sea, and air transportation service. It is a large sectoral entity that comprises over 23 technical and administrative divisions, statutory authorities, and state. Specifically, in keeping with its mandate, the ministry provides the following services to its clientele, the general public, among others: national planning for roads, drainage and transportation, air, sea, and land; construction and maintenance of highways, major and secondary roads; construction and maintenance of bridges and landslips; construction and maintenance of major watercourse and existing drainage system; land reclamation; and coastal management in collaboration with stakeholders. Advised on, as well as the construction and maintenance of government building and facilities and Ministry of Works and Transport buildings and facilities. Advice on maritime-related matters. Advised on the purchase and repair of maintenance of the transport fleet of state agencies, traffic management, registration, classification, licensing, and inspection of vehicles, issuance of driver's permit, enforcement of laws under the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, management and control of shipping within Trinidad and Tobago waters, registration, licensing, surveying, inspection, and classifications of ship, enforcement of the maritime law, and navigational and monitoring of air service agreement. As we start, I would like to bring to the attention of this House that in the reviewing the records of the draft estimates of expenditure 2018, we have identified variances between the ministry's records of expenditure in some areas to what has been provided in the revised estimate for 2017 in the draft budget document. In this respect, it will be identified from the onset that this is based on the time when the revised estimates would have been collected and the actual figures available to the ministry as at 30th September 2017. It has been a challenging year, but the ministry has been seeking to stay the course and to allow the marriage of procedure, process, and implementation to take its place. I stand ready to answer all questions and where not readily available, to submit some in writing at the earliest possible opportunities. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable members, the question is that the sum of $2,343,542,325 for Head 43, the Ministry of Works and Transport, stand part of the schedule. Honourable members, the sum of $2,343,542,325 for Head 43, the Ministry of Works and Transport, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads, and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure, the draft estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the statutory boards and similar bodies and of the Tobago House of Assembly, and the draft estimates of development program. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, personnel expenditure. Member for Tabakit. Page 274.
Okay, thank you. Well, on the personal expenditure, Madam Chair, there's a decrease of $5,380,495 on the personal expenditure. And I'm asking the question, what is the reason for this cut of 5.4 million? And in view of the fact that there will be wage increases according to union agreements for 2018, have you included any of these in the figures for 2018?
Minister?
Madam Chair, there's a reduction in the daily rated employees of 1.8 million. This is as a result of workers are retired, and those posts have not been filled at this time. There's also a decrease. Yeah, we are at this point in time conducting a needs analysis to ensure that the positions that are available will be filled shortly.
So that you're not sure whether you're going, are you sure or are you uncertain whether you're going to fill those positions?
Well, that's why we are conducting a
needs analysis.
A needs analysis, yes.
The second part of the question was, given that there are union agreements, have you included in these figures any of the increases for 2018?
Madam Chair, wherever there's final agreements, those figures have been taken into consideration.
But there was, in 2017, Minister, 492,487,500 salaries and cost of living, and wages and cost of living $290 million. In 2017, that was revised on to 461,338 and 263,670. Oh, sorry, page 274.
274.
Page 274.
What item are you talking?
Yeah, personal expenditure.
Yeah,
01.
Oh, so you're going by the overall figure?
Yes, yes. I'm trying to establish whether, in fact, you have really included any increases in wages that are going to come due to union agreements in 2018, or whether these figures reflect, I'm asking whether they reflect a wage freeze, or is retrenchment contemplated?
Madam Chair, the government has said on several occasions there's no wage freeze as a policy, and government has also stated that there's no retrenchment at this point in time.
Okay, but if that is so, Minister, how is it that the figures have decreased from revised estimate of 461 to 455, and which was originally estimated at 492, and from 263 to 261, not reflecting, if you look at it in terms of the percentage, what would be the percentage increase added to this in terms of the wage agreements that have been reached?
Okay, if you look at 30, there's a significant reduction in the traveling claims.
Sorry, 3?
And yeah, the traveling claims and the overtime allowances. What we're trying to do at the ministry is to minimize these additional expenditure that have been treated as runaway horses.
In overtime allowances? Overtime allowances, Mr.
And
Minister,
the traveling
has increased by 708,000.
workers. Yeah.
And overtime allowances for monthly paid officers increased by 256,000. So on both of those, they have increased. They increased. The only monthly paid officers allowances have gone down by 6 million. Is lower down. But if the allowances are going down,
You see, you're dealing with the general admin. You
Yes.
want to go into the actual.
but the general is the accumulation of all the actuals, right, in the subs. So that if in fact your monthly paid allowances, which are monthly paid allowances in my view, which will be union determined, is it that really you are not going to be employing, or you're reducing the number of employed, or there's a general unstated policy of a wage freeze?
None of the above.
The figures, Mr. Minister, don't reflect that. I'm still looking at the page 273 under item 04. Can I look at it in the summary page, ma'am? But I guess we can go on and take it in the, as we go. Okay.
Okay, so Member for Cuba South.
Just through you, Madam Chair, to the Minister. Just for clarification, Minister, you indicated that the Ministry is currently engaged in a manpower audit exercise.
Yes, sir. With the daily rated employees. With
Daily
the
rated?
employees, yes.
Not for monthly rated?
No, no.
And could you clarify for us how many existing vacant posts within the Ministry and in the relevant divisions?
Okay, what we will do is submit that to you in writing by divisions.
But you have no idea at the
No, I
moment?
don't have that with me right now.
Okay. Additionally, my colleague, the member for Tabakit, was, I just want to follow up on what he was asking. Is there any outstanding back pay for the expired agreements, or what have been settled, and what is the current status of the collective bargaining process as it relates to monthly paid and daily rated employees?
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, we have been settling the arrears as they are confirmed to us, but we can give you a detailed listing of all the outstanding.
So, could you advise this meeting, is there any outstanding?
We have any outstanding? No, we don't. Go ahead. Finish
No,
the question. No, finish it. You didn't finish
Is
the question.
there any outstanding sums of monies based on collective agreements that were settled between the employer and the respective unions in terms of the bargaining units? Are there any
At
outstanding
the end
money?
of the day, the answer to that is no.
None?
No.
What is the current status of the collective bargaining process as it relates to monthly paid and daily rated employees? And for what period? Could you advise this meeting, please?
Through you, Madam Speaker, we don't have that information. It is with the CPO, and we will have that again in writing produced to you.
Member for Kutu Mantinella.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like item 14, line item 14, could the Honorable Minister indicate? Sub-item 14. Could the Honorable Minister indicate how many committees are in place at the moment, cabinet-appointed committees?
Okay, we don't have any right now, but we will be appointed. At this point in time, we have budgeted 434,000 because we expect to have the Air Service Agreement Committee established, the steering committee on the overseas the operationalize of the transport, the MVA Transport Authority, and those are two steering committees that is expected to come on stream in this fiscal year.
Thank you.
Member for Caroni Central.
Yes, well, one of my questions was answered by the minister on the, I was going to ask on ask a question on what were the cabinet appointed committees. But the other question I want to ask, I just want to understand clearly from the minister. Am I correct in saying that you have indicated that there have been no loss of employees over the year, that there are no plans to hire employees, but that there is a review of daily paid employees? Am I correct?
Yes.
All right.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, you indicated that, through you, Madam Chair, that you're doing the manpower analysis, the needs analysis. When did that start, and who is doing it, and when will it be completed?
Minister.
Yes, thank you. All right. This project started in 2016 by PwC, and there is a report that is being reviewed internally.
So just for my and for those who are listening, the PwC completed a review of the daily rated workers required for the ministry.
Which is being
The
reviewed by this
report
time.
is completed. It
And
has
it's
been reviewed by
at
whom?
this time. By the ministry.
By the ministry. And when will and what is the period of time that you have allotted for the review?
The shortest possible time. I expect that to be done shortly.
So it goes back to my initial question. When was it completed, the review? By PwC?
Let me just make a correction. It was Ernst & Young who did the study, and it was submitted April of 2017.
April of 2017.
Yeah.
So that therefore you want to review what you said about the shortest possible time
Well,
for.
no, these things do take some time. I mean,
Could you enlighten us, through you, Madam Chair, as to the recommendations of that report?
I don't have the details of the recommendation at this time.
Could you provide the Parliament with a copy of those recommendations? What could you indicate to us, what was the cost of the Ernst & Young report?
I don't have those figures at this time, but I'll be willing to submit to you.
And did the union participate in the consultative process with Ernst & Young?
Again, I'd have to get that information to you.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, through you to the Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, line item 14, going back to remuneration to members of cabinet-appointed committees. You mentioned that one of those cabinet-appointed committees will be dealing with the MVA. Now, most recently, a few months ago, we've dealt with moving traffic offences into violations. Could you give us a sense of timeline as well as the report coming out from this cabinet-appointed committees that will help to flesh out the fruition of that particular piece of legislation? And what support is being provided by the cabinet-appointed committee to ensure that this is just not on the statute books, but rather implementation will be coming forward?
Minister.
Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we do have an operationalized committee in place, and we're looking at the third quarter of this year to have this committee in place. Yeah.
Is it related to the?
Certain areas of the implemented.
Could the Honourable Minister confirm, Madam Chair, through you, whether or not the committee has actually met?
No, the operational committee. The operationalized, that committee have met and have been meeting for quite a while.
But then,
But
Minister,
this
you
is a
just
standard
indicated.
This is a different committee here.
Oh, okay. So
This
there's
is
it's a
different
separate and apart from.
This is a separate and apart from the operationalized committee, which comprises members from the different ministries.
But is it, again, a separate cabinet-appointed committee, or is it a subcommittee of the original committee?
No, no, subcommittee.
Which committee you talking
The
about?
MVA that the
No,
Minister is referring
Which one are
to?
you talking? Are you speaking about the operationalized?
I'm asking whether or not,
Just for clarification, the line item refers to a cabinet-appointed committee.
Committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? I believe the minister said that a committee under the MVA for the transport committee is to be established. This is what this line item
Yes.
relates to. So I'm allowing questions relating to that.
sure.
Okay? Yes, Member for Prince.
Madam Chair, through you, again to the Honourable Minister, I just wanted the clarification of whether or not that original committee, the MVA committee that you spoke of, is separate and apart from an operationalizing committee.
Yes, it is.
And has that operationalizing committee met?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what support is that giving in terms of the fruition of this piece of legislation? If you can give us an idea of how advanced that is.
Well, Member for Princestown, I wouldn't allow that, if you're talking about the operationalized committee, I wouldn't allow that kind of
Sure.
questioning for this. From what we understand, that's a committee of public servants.
Yeah.
So it doesn't fall under this line item. Is that all you want to ask? Member for Couva South.
No, Carinese, sorry.
Just, Madam Chair, again through you, and I heard the minister indicate to my colleague from Carinese, and I'm seeking just a bit of clarification. as it relates to the manpower audit exercise. It was done in full concurrence with the bargaining, the recognized majority unions as it relates to the daily paid and monthly paid bargaining units.
It's a daily, it's not monthly pay, it's daily rated. It was a request coming out from CPO.
Okay, through you, Madam Speaker, this was a request coming out of the CPO's office. It's for daily paid workers, and it's
Needs analysis.
a needs analysis.
Yes,
Right.
I agree. I am following the information. I'm just seeking further clarification in relation to what you outlined for my colleague Karani East.
Get the information.
Was it done with the
We will-
full
as I
agreement
said to
and
Karen, if we will get that information to you.
so you have no idea
No, at this point.
as
in
line
time,
minister and
Member for
exercise?
Member for Couva South,
Yes,
in the interest of us
16.
making full benefit of this exercise, if you're tying it to a line item here, I will allow it. You will have an opportunity for general questions in another forum. Okay?
So it was that in 2016.
No problem.
Thank you. Member for Caroni East.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, could you, under sub-item 002, highways,
002,
on page 274,
yeah.
there's a sub,
Just before we go to
you
there.
haven't reached there yet.
Just for order's sake, I can take it, but I just want to ensure that we finish with 001.
Okay, all right, fine, I'll wait.
Are there any more questions for 001? Okay, so then we're moving on to 002, and I will take the member for Caroni East.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Monthly pay.
Minister, could you or your technocrat explain the difference between line, sub-item 01, which is salaries and cost of living allowance, which is 9.776 million, and wages and COLA, including leave pay, which is 105 million. So probably I'm missing something. The difference between one line item of salaries and the other one is wages. What's the differentiation? There probably a technocrat can help us.
One is monthly and one is daily paid.
And which one is monthly? Salaries?
The salaries.
Salaries is monthly. Thanks, so I wanted to get I appreciate it.
Member for Caroni Central.
Their salaries and cost of living allowances. You have a variance by increase of 323,000. How do you explain that? Is it for an increase in the salary itself? Because you said that there was no increase
All right.
in numbers.
There are some vacant positions that we expect to fill.
Potential hirings.
Yes.
Okay, so there, as we go down the line then, Madam Chair, through you, we are likely to see opportunities for new hirings in the system?
Once the vacant posts exist.
All right.
Member for Tabakit.
Sub-item 2. What percentage increase is included there under wages and COLA in line with the union agreement? What percentage has been catered for?
Minister?
This is the okay. We have settled all the negotiations, outstanding payments, and the negotiations are conducted by the CPO. So I don't know if that would answer the question.
No, but in a 3-year agreement, you'll have 4%, 5%, or 6% every year. How much have you included, if the agreement was 4% for this particular year, have you included that percentage in this 2018 estimate?
Yeah. Yes, that would have been taken into consideration.
Then, Mr. Minister, you say you included it. In 2017, the wages and COLA was 106,800,000. And in 2018, it's down by 105 to $105 million, a drop of $1.8 million. So it couldn't be that you keep in the same workforce and increasing by the percentage and get a figure that's lower.
Yeah, you are presuming that nobody will retire during that period. We did have, and we do expect normal attrition during this period. So that was taken into consideration as well.
Mr. Minister, I'm not satisfied with that. I'm listening to you, but it does seem to me that there is an unstated policy of not filling positions and of very silently reducing the labor force, the daily paid labor force in the Ministry of Works. But in line with that, I would like to just look at the item just below that. Vacant posts, sub-item 8, vacant posts, salaries and COLA without incumbents. And I see throughout the different divisions, you have allocated money under that in 2018. And here you have allocated $500,000. Are you going to fill those positions?
I'm sure you, Madam Chair, this is the money that we have been given. So, yes, the answer is yes, that we intend to fill. But we have to wait for the Service Commission, because they're the ones who would approve that.
Finally, how many persons are employed at the Ministry of Works now, in terms of daily rated and monthly?
3,800, right? Yeah. Through you, Madam Chair, at the daily rated, we have 3,866. The contract workers is 323, and the establishment is 1,549, and the short-term contracts is 57, bringing a total.
What do you mean by establishment? The salaries, monthly paid and so on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right, thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just to follow up on Member for Tabakit, the Honorable Minister, how many positions are vacant in each category?
Through you, Madam Speaker, that we will produce that for you in writing.
Are you finished, Member for Mansinella? Yes, Member for Naparima.
And through you, Madam Chair, I'm looking at 02, wages and COLA, and there's a decrease of 1.8 million. But at 29, that's in the next page, I see an increase in overtime for daily rated workers. Why would you decrease wages and COLA and increase, and I suspect that the numbers are reduced, but at the same time, you're reducing numbers but increasing overtime?
We have that.
That is looking at 02 and 29.
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, that budgeted figure is for arrears that is outstanding.
Oh, okay.
For arrears that's outstanding.
That is outstanding.
Overtime arrears.
Claims and so. Not a bit traveling claims, outstanding traveling claims.
Okay, Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just again, a bit of clarification, because I'm trying to follow all the information that is coming out here. In relation, vacant posts and a commitment to fill vacancies, and then I'm hearing about a manpower audit exercise. So if the manpower audit exercise says that there must be a rationalization, a downsizing of the workforce and so on, is there going to be a contradiction of the stated policies here that, or the information that is being given to this meeting?
The needs analysis is for the daily rated employees. And the monthly paid is what we're doing the manpower audit.
Vacant post item is for monthly paid
Right.
employees.
And the vacant post is for the monthly paid employees. Is it
Good.
written here?
Member for Karen East. Member for Karen East, could you just ensure that your mic is switched on? Thank
The top is not reflect. Yeah, no, sure, thanks. Honorable Minister,
Which page you on?
if we look at the bottom of page 274, still on 002 highways, under the line item carried forward, there's a differentiation between actual expenditure in 2016 of 135 million versus 2018 estimates of 125, which is about a $10 million differentiation. And that is following what my colleague from Tabakit was asking. What will be responsible for the entire, the $10 million less on this item here? If we go to the, well, we
you.
haven't
Karen
reached-
East, 1 minute, please.
Yeah.
It's so unusual, but really it's difficult to hear you.
Oh, sorry. I thought my voice was like, are you hearing now? Something, yeah.
Here on 002 and 08.
The differentiation,
He-
in
he
in
looking
short,
at the whole-
Honorable Minister, 2016
carry
actual
forward.
is 135, and 2018 estimate is 125, a $10 million differentiation. Any explanation?
This here, yeah. No, it's-
Was 2016 to pay arrears on salaries or wages, or arrears on wages? Or that is by attrition of staff?
You're on 274, right?
Yeah, page 274.
274, yeah. Yeah, what's the difference of this? But
It's a
you-
subtotal.
Yes,
It's carried over on the next pages.
right, so you
subtotal.
need to,
But if we get an idea here now, it will
but you're
help
dealing
us.
with 2016 to 2018.
Yeah.
Well,
Actual in 2016, 135
Why do we
million.
go from
Estimate for 2018, 125 million.
well, so
$10 million differentiation.
from 2016 to 2018, you're going to, you know,
Yeah, at the bottom of the page, 274.
well,
It's made up of a number of different areas.
and then, so I want,
Yeah, but the question is really, what accounts for the difference between 2016 and 2018?
Yeah, yes, Madam Chair, thank you.
What I would say though, member, for Carney East,
27,
I think you do have 2017
17.
here. And I guess in 2016, 2017, you would have asked a particular question. So if you could maybe look at it in terms of what
2017.
this current year that we're looking at.
2016,
Yeah, well, there's a decrease from
3 million.
the previous year, which was a decrease from the previous year.
Well, I can give it
It's
a
not
3
a-
million. There's a decrease of 3 million from 2017 to 2018. There's a decrease of 3 million.
Yeah,
We've identified it.
what accounts for it?
3 million,
Total.
the total, on page 275.
And that is based on what we've indicated.
Is there any
before.
explanation, Minister?
So the 3 million would have been based on what we identified before. I can't give you from 2016 to 2018.
All right. But 2017, 2018,
It's just a $3 million difference.
differentiation.
Right, and we would have made that up to you with the,
That the attrition of employees.
yeah, the employees. Remember, if you look at line item where we had the $1.8 million,
Yeah.
we explained that. And then if you go to
Allowances,
the allowances,
the reduction in traveling payments.
I think you partly answered it when you indicated to Minister.
yeah, we answered, but that's the reason for the $3 million.
The attrition
Yes,
aspect.
yes, that's
Okay.
the 1.8.
I just wanted to know whether it was in relation to previous arrears on back pay and so on.
No.
Member for Naparima?
Because we did pay a raise in 2017.
In respect of that's the highways 275, the decrease of $2.960 million. Given that in 2018, this year, you would be doing a number of projects that you probably were not involved, the Toko Road, the Maruga Road, the overpass.
But those are not
Is it that the Highways Division can do the same work, increased workload with reduced numbers or static numbers, or are these projects allocated elsewhere? But you need supervision.
If you look at 2017, the estimate was 4 million. 2018 is 4.3 million. The revised was 6.8.
Right?
We sought to pay for outstanding arrears in 2017, which we don't have in 2018.
Okay.
So there's an increase in 2018 of. Yeah.
Member for Tabaki? We now move on to 003, which is on page 275. 003, Traffic Management. Member for Caroni Central.
Minister, I want to raise a matter that has to do with traffic management on the highway, but relates to something in my constituency. There is a portion of the highway just under a popular eating place called Highway Roti Shop, and it has been widened and is able to accommodate parked vehicles. However, that has turned out to be a traffic hazard, and we have had a situation where
Member,
accidents.
Excuse me, in the interest of time, I can't allow that type of question under this consideration. It may be a question regarding your constituency that you can ask at another opportunity. Okay, so that if you have another question you want to ask under the line items here, I will allow it. Come on.
Well, I simply wanted to ask if the accommodation could be made on the highway to make it safe, that's all.
Madam Chairman, may I ask a question? As far as I can see, we're on personnel expenditure, 003 traffic management, wages and salaries. I don't understand. So I could ask you, perhaps you understand.
Thank you very much. Member for Kamuto Mansinilla, I think the member understands. We're moving on. Kamuto Mansinilla, member for Kuba.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to confirm, Minister, traffic management, is it limited to traffic wardens, or is it expansive? And if it is, what it includes, please?
This does not include the traffic wardens.
Member for Kuva South.
Madam Chair, just again, Minister, see government's contribution to NIS has been reduced by 425,000. Any particular reason?
It's what we received.
Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is what we had received for this period. This figure is what we would have received for this period. So we have to.
It doesn't satisfy me, but I will. I really.
Okay, so member for Tabakit.
This is what you received and you're just accepting. Would it be that you will be in debt to the NIS?
We will request money as required in the mid-year review to ensure that we make the necessary payments and contribution.
Yeah, but just on that.
Sorry, a follow-up question, sorry? Just 1 minute, I've recognized that. But, Minister, how is it that a ministry can be in debt to the NIS when you prosecute private companies when they are in debt to the NIS? Is the ministry observing the tenet of the law?
Ministry of Works, Minister of Works and
This
Transport.
doesn't say that we in debt.
You want to defer to the Minister of Finance on this?
I can come in here. There's no question of the ministry being in debt.
Being in debt.
In fact, the minister said the opposite. He said they will make the payments as and when they are required. So there's no debt has arisen.
Does the Ministry of Finance make similar provisions for private sector companies who may not be able to meet their payments, like the Ministry of Works not being able to meet its
But
payments?
that is not so. The minister said the payments will be made as and when required. So that question is not relevant.
Very relevant.
Member for Vancouver South.
Madam Chair, I fully endorse what the member for Tabakit is saying. And additionally, Minister, say for example, if someone retires and goes to the National Insurance Board seeking or applies for his or her retirement benefits, and they are being told that payments have not been made up or contributions have not been paid on their behalf. What is their position, Minister?
Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the member is taking a stand.
Let me deal with that. I just want to make it crystal clear that the government treats very seriously the question of obligations to the National Insurance Board, and ministries will be given the necessary funds, or transfers and environments will be approved, or supplementary funding will be made available as and when required. So this entire discussion does not arise. It has not arisen and will not arise.
Member for Point-a-Pierre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you. To the Minister of Finance, in given that response just now, I have a concern under traffic management 003. You have 01 items of 1.6 million budgeted for salaries and cost of living. 02 wages and COLA budgeted 12.7. Under the 05 and government's contribution to NIS, item 0102 would have taken into account a certain number of employees on the payroll. 07 should also take into account the salaries and wages related to item 1 and 2.
07? There is no
05,
07.
05, Minister. Okay, sorry, I apologize. 05. So I'm trying to understand, why would you not budget the correct amount for the employer's contribution in relationship to the number of employees and the quantum that you would have budgeted for wages?
Certainly, I recognize that you have not been in a cabinet government before. But when these estimates are done, if supplementary funding is required, they will be made available.
It wasn't meant to be portrayed.
I'm being very serious. In any budget, these are merely estimates of expenditure. That's why we have a mid-year review around April or May of every year. And if there's a shortfall in any area, it will be supplemented. In addition, during the period prior to the mid-year review, permanent secretaries have the authority to request a transfer or environment from another head in order to supplement a vote if additional funding is required. So there is no problem.
Member for Navarino. We are moving on to item 004, Central Planning Unit, which is on page 276. Item 005, Drainage, which is on page 276. Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 29, the overtime for daily rated workers. The analysis that was done by Ernst & Young would incorporate all these things in the context of overtime and the manpower requirements. No. In the area of Weimar, which is part of my constituency, this is that is part of the central drainage area. You have significant staff shortages, and that is why I'm interested in the recommendations of the Ernst & Young report. And I just used the line item to make that request, to reinforce that request, Madam Chair.
Member for Tabakit.
The member for Chaguanas West. In that regard, what is the complement that is required in the drainage division, and how many do you really have now? How many vacancies then are there in the drainage division, given that we have all these drainage problems?
Through you, Madam Chair, we will submit that to you in writing.
Member for Kumutu Mantinilla.
Madam Chair, just add, if the Honorable Minister can also indicate the amount that would be required also for the constituency of Kumutu Mantinilla, but Standing Random.
We'll do it for the entire drainage department. We do it for the entire drainage
Do it for the
department.
entire
Yeah.
drainage
Yeah.
department. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Can we move on to item 006, mechanical services, which is on page 277? Item 007, maintenance, which is on pages 277 and 278. Member for Tabakit.
Speaker, Madam Chairman, on both items 1, sub-item 1 and 2, I presume that maintenance here refers to the maintenance of mechanical equipment and what have you in the ministry.
Maintenance division. No, it's not mechanical.
No, it's not mechanical. Mechanical is under the mechanical services.
What does
006.
maintenance refer to then?
Maintenance division. Building.
The buildings and so, government buildings, Ministry of Works buildings, things like that.
Okay.
Item 008, construction, page 278. Item 012, unemployment relief program, page 279. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Member for Tabakit.
Under construction, is the minister aware that these funds of 11 million on the average being paid to wages and COLA and 14.5 million on salaries and cost of living, is the minister aware that a lot of times these people just don't have any materials to do their jobs and that we are probably spending money here without getting productivity and any returns for it?
So you, Madam Chair, this is one department that I'm looking at. There are a lot more challenges than just not material. There's some physical infrastructure challenge, and we are looking at this very closely to get some value for money out of this department.
Is the minister therefore saying that we are not getting value for money at this point in time?
We can get a lot more value for money.
Thank you. You're right.
Anything else on item 008, construction? Therefore, we move on to item 012, unemployment relief program, page 279. Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could the Honourable Minister indicate how many persons are employed in this program and the regional distribution of that employment?
Oh, you have that figure? Right. This is the monthly paid staff, right? This is not the daily paid. You want the monthly paid staff? On the establishment? Okay. We'll submit that in writing to you. Because what we're dealing here with is the monthly paid staff.
Anything else on 012? Can we move on then to item 013, general administration transport, page 279. Item 014, transport, page 280. Item 015, maritime services, pages 280 and 281. Subhead 02, goods and services, page 281. Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Item number 16, contract employment. Could the Honourable Minister indicate the reason for the substantial increase in that allocation from
Minister.
16 to
This
7.
is, yeah, sure. Yes,
From
you
8.8 to
said there's
12.
an increase contracted employment.
Well, I'm looking at from 2016 onward to
I don't have the
2018.
okay, 2017 to
Well, if you look
20.
at 17, you'll see the figure is about 12.4 million, up from a 7 million estimate.
This is page 281.
Page 281.
16. This is what we would have used in 2017.
I was just asking
The
what might
revised
be
figures was,
responsible.
the revised figures and the estimate for 2018 is the same figure.
There. What caused that increase from the year before? Page 281, Minister.
Right. If you look at the short-term employment vote,
Yeah.
it went down significantly in 2017. So what it meant is that the short-term, we moved people out of short-term to the,
You move them out of short-term.
yes, into more sustained employment. So that's why the short-term went down significantly, and the contract employees went up.
Okay.
Member for Kumucha Mansinella.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 08. Can you account for the decrease in the rent and lease of office accommodations? And if you can
Again.
provide the answer for how many properties are currently leased or rented, and what's the
Okay.
monthly cost?
No, we had
And
some
storage
arrears.
spaces as
We
well.
had some arrears through you, Madam Chair, in 2017, and we tried to address it there. Those arrears have been, paid. So in 2018, we don't have that amount of arrears again. Yeah.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister can indicate what properties are currently leased or storage
We can
spaces.
submit that in writing.
Right, and thanks.
Member for Caroni Central.
Item 28, under the same subhead. Would you indicate, Minister, an example of what other contracted services involve? So just one example would do.
What do we have for this one?
Page 281, item 28, under Goods and Services General Administration.
All right, this could account for things like consultancy fees and so.
Okay.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, when we look at short-term employment, can you give us an idea of the areas that are being targeted with respect to short-term employment?
You want to break that question down a little bit?
What would account for a line item like line item 22 with respect to short-term employment?
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, this will account for a service that you need for like a short period of time. And an example of that would be like what? Right, so, yes, so, let's say if you want to do an audit, bring in some in the audit department, and you want to bring in some for a short period of time, maybe at 2 months or 3 months, for a specific project.
Okay.
Member for Oropouche West.
Honorable Minister, line 17, training. I'd just like to inquire who will be utilizing this training and what skills will be targeted to be improved upon?
Okay, at this point, the ministry is developing its training plan. This is basically the employees, and this is for the employees of the ministry.
Oropouche West, do you have any further
Yeah,
questions?
I just need to know special skills, sorry, special skills that would have to be targeted, or no?
Yeah. We are looking right now at things like project management and so.
Thank you.
And yes,
And also things like maritime.
57,000.
Okay, are you finished your report,
Thank
West?
you.
Member for Shogunas West? You have no question? Member for Couva South?
just a follow-up from our food request. Minister, are you satisfied that an allocation of 57,000, an increase of is 80,000 really, to focus on training for your entire ministry? And how much employees will benefit from this exercise?
Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, what we're trying to do at the ministry is more with less. We're thankful for whatever we get. And I just want to draw your attention that each department does have a separate training vote. So this training vote here is for the general administration. So other divisions does have a separate training vote.
Doesn't give me any sense of comfort, really.
Okay, are we finished with item 001, general administration? So we can go on to item 002, highways, pages 282 and 283. Member for Shogunas East.
Goods and services.
Yeah, we are doing goods and services. Item 002, highways, is on pages 282 and 283.
Can I ask a question, Inspector, on line item 34 on 282?
So we're going back to goods and services.
Yeah, because we had.
Okay, now I just want members to remember what the agreement was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I allow it on this intervention, but I'm going to try to call the page.
Okay.
So, right?
Yeah, that will help.
I'll try and raise my voice when I call the page. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're on page 282. And we're on line item
34.
34. Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. If the Honourable Minister could give us a status on this University Graduate Recruitment Program, which was first mentioned by the Minister of Finance in the 2016 budget.
Madam Speaker, this item has appeared in the last 3 budgets, but financial constraints have prevented us from activating the program. Hopefully, this year, we can do it.
Member for Shogunas West.
Water and sewage rates item 06 on the highways. I
Okay.
noticed that there is an increase.
Okay, just hold up 1 minute, please, Shogunas West. Are we finished with item 001? Okay. So item 002, highways, pages 282 and 283. Member for Shogunas West.
Yeah, the first question I have is with respect to item 06, water and sewage rates. I noticed that in 16-17 there was no allocation, but in 2018 there's a $60,000 allocation, which I am sure WASA will welcome. But I want to know, is there any arrears owed to the Water and Sewage Authority by the Ministry of Works and or its agencies to that utility?
All right. The reason why, through you, Madam Chair, is that we have this year we have a line item for the figure. It was being paid before under general administration. So it was being paid before, but now we have a separate line item for it.
Part of the question, is there any arrears owed to the Water and Sewage Authority for rates under the Ministry of Works and or any of its agencies?
I would hope not, and I'm not aware of any.
But if when you check, please provide the Parliament with the necessary update.
Sure.
Thank you.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honourable Minister, line item 04, electricity. There's an increase of $124,000 here. Is this in anticipation of any impending rate hikes?
The answer to that is no.
Member for Point of Pear. Member for Carney Central.
Yeah, Madam Chair, item 28 under goods and services, page 283. Other contracted services, the minister, in a previous question asking what these were for, said it's likely to be consultancies. Now I'm mentioning this one here, which is 5 million, and there was one before which I did not flag, another 3 million. Is the answer to this one also the same?
No, general admin will be a different type of contracted services. This is highways. So this vote here would be used for works, physical works on the highways.
So these are physical contracts then, contractual
Yes.
obligations? Okay.
Infrastructure work.
Member for Princestown?
Madam Chair, to the Honourable Minister, line item 43, Security Services, an increase of 400,000 here. Could you indicate if this, well, I'm guessing is private security services, what would account for an increase of 400,000 for security services?
What we have this in 2018, through you, Madam Speaker, is some outstanding bills. So we have requested some additional funding there. That's what the increase is for outstanding bills.
Honourable Minister, through you, Madam, would you give us the undertaking to indicate out of this increase of 400,000, how much you anticipate would have been used for bills from the past, or whether or not really, in truth and in fact, this may be adding to this year's bills? So if you can give us the undertaking of how much will be used to clear out outstanding bills, and what those outstanding bills would have been, and what are the contracted services for this financial year.
Sure.
Shagonas West.
Dealing traffic management. Okay.
Member for Pointe-a-Pierre?
To the Minister, line item 28, other contracted services. Could the Minister in writing give a listen what makes up that $22.7 million for 2017?
Sure.
Okay, so we are moving on now to item 003, traffic management, pages 283 to 284. Member for Shagonas West.
Item 12, materials and supplies. There is a marginal increase of 15,000. It has been brought to my attention, Honourable Minister, that the persons who draw the white lines on the road, they have a shortage of paint, and there is no, and that therefore they are unable to draw the white lines because of that shortage. Whether or not the addition of 15,000 is sufficient to meet that demand that they have, having regard to the expansion of the road network and the need for more white paint on the roads.
Minister.
Thank you.
And Transport.
Madam Chair, through you, again, we are thankful for the increase of 15,000. And if more paint is required, we will go back to the Ministry of Finance in the mid-year review and request further funding.
Member for Caroni Central?
Yes, Chair, through you. Minister, I just want to flag 28 again, other contracted services, and to ask what these are likely to be.
This would have been the traffic lights. And so, yeah. Through you, Madam Chair, these are like routine maintenance on the traffic lights and so.
Okay, so these are maintenance contracts.
Yeah.
How, Minister, may I ask, how do you, in the traffic management and transport arena, how do you address the things such as transportation efficiency, traffic management, the possibility of park and ride and so on? Where does that figure in the ministry?
Those come under traffic studies.
Okay.
So we will, from time to time, do, and I can tell you now that we are doing some studies on park and ride. As a matter of fact, we do have a project that the ministry is going to initiate shortly.
Member for Tabakit?
Minister, this is something that predates you, predates a lot of us. Materials and supplies. The length of time which paint lasts on the road seems to be decreasing. Have you been doing any quality checks now on the quality of paint being supplied, which they are using on the roads? They don't seem to last more than a couple of weeks.
Through you, Madam Chair, we are using now the thermoplast paint, which seem to be holding up a lot longer than the regular paint on the road.
Member for Point of Peer.
Yes, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, line item 43, security service is a small amount of $10,000. What would that be for?
That's like whenever we
Very
approach
minute.
time.
I'm just curious.
Okay, through you, Madam Chair, the highways, the traffic man does have some facilities that require from time to time security, depending on the areas that they're working on. So that line item basically covers that.
Member for Caroni East.
Minister, in keeping with what Member Tabakit asked, on the materials and so on, some of the highways need badly the cat eyes to help in traffic flow. There's no consideration here what I see from it. Is it something that you could contemplate? Buying some funding from one area to another?
Yes.
But you have a small amount in any case, 800,000, that can't do anything.
Well, you know, I'm still grateful for whatever little we get.
I know your hands are tied, so.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Page 284 with now item 62, promotions, publicity and printing for the traffic management area. Now, item 62.
62. Right.
No, we are going into a new arena of law with traffic light violations. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that in the context of the culture of the country, that you have now less money is being allocated for the publicity of that. Is it that you plan to? There ought to have been a campaign in order to educate people, but how are you going to address that issue in the context of the new law that has emerged in the context of the allocation that you have a reduction?
Again, through you, Madam Chair, this is one of the line items that once we are ready to roll that aspect of the traffic management, or we will be approaching the Minister of Finance for some additional funding. But that will be an entire campaign.
Madam Chair, on that issue, is this the traffic light management issue? Will that be done by the private sector, these new traffic lights, or will it be done by the ministry?
The ministry.
Ministry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Member for Tabakit.
Madam Speaker, I just wanted to get from the Minister, item 12. This materials and supplies, what does it really refer to? In terms of what materials? We spoke about paint. Are there other materials?
Yeah, this is like the signage and so. Signage and so. Metal sheet signage. Take, for instance, like the speed limit that we expect to...
But not material for the repairs of roads?
No.
Okay. So I want to ask you about Mosquito Creek.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Honourable Minister, again on line item 12, material and supplies. Minister, I've been noticing on the highways that the issue of the cable barriers, the repair of those cable barriers continue to be a burning issue, in that when there are accidents, it takes a long while for the cable barriers to be repaired. And in many instances, when you drive from north to south, there are many instances where those barriers have not been repaired in months. Yeah. Can you give us an indication of how, through this vote and in other any other area, a program would be put in place to deal with the cable barriers. I know the reason for justifying for bringing on the cable barriers was really to save lives. But if we have where it is not being repaired months on, then it's not really effecting what it was supposed to do.
Minister of Works and
Yes. Yeah, these are other contracted services. This line, the item that you're speaking about is under other contracted services. And it is something that we are looking at because a very expensive maintenance. And I mean, I can tell you at the ministry right now, we are looking at doing a feasibility study whether we can continue to afford it because the maintenance is very, very expensive.
Member for Princeton.
Madam, on the same issue, Honorable Minister, can you indicate whether or not there's an existing contract with any company
Yes,
right
there
now?
is.
And could you indicate who is the company?
Is it Unicoma? The company, I think it's Unishow, but I could confirm that for you in writing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so can we move on? Item 004, Central Planning Unit. This is at page 284. Item 005, Drainage at page 285. Member for Kumutu Manzinola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 05, telephones. There's a significant increase in telephones of $607,000. Can the minister indicate what accounts for this increase?
If you look at, through you, Madam Chair, if you look at 2017, you'd see it was an estimated 900,000. 2018 is 900,000. Because there was some need to verify the bills in 2017, that is where the increase is. It's really not an increase at the estimated 2017 over the estimated 2018.
I thought you would have looked at bringing it down in light of the fact that you have, less money.
Well,
Is this
we
a mobile
have.
or is this
If you look at
landline?
2016, it was 994, and now it's 900. There's a 10% reduction.
Is this for landlines or for mobile?
Sorry?
Landlines? Thank you, Madam Chair. Is this mobiles or landline or a combination?
It's a combination.
Member for Naparimo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 15, drainage, repairs and maintenance of equipment. In 2017, 150,000 was budgeted. Revised estimate is 3,000. And now there's an increase, it's now 100,000. In light of the floodings that we experienced this year, do you think, and the need for equipment and the maintenance of equipment to effect those repairs in Williamsville and the Guacara River, etc., is 97,000, in your view, an increase adequate to deal with what we are seeing evolving in terms of the flooding?
This is maintenance of the military equipment. Okay.
Minister of Works and Transport.
Yes, true. Through you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what we're doing right now again at the ministry is the equipment for all the different departments to have a more holistic view of what is happening, and rather than separate the drainage equipment and because we have one garage. And what we're trying to do now is to get the garage a lot more efficient by having the vote.
So you're satisfied, Minister, that this 97,000 is going to give us the kind of equipment repairs and maintenance to satisfy the...
Again, no, $97,000 is not much for equipment, but what we have decided to do is to pull it out as a project and have the vehicle maintenance looked at as a project rather than each different.
Member for Princess Town.
Madam, to the Honorable Minister, line item 09, rent lease vehicles and equipment, an increase of 905,000. Minister, one of the main complaints has been the dredging of rivers. Can you indicate, with respect to this particular line item, whether or not this increase would see several of the rivers that have created serious flooding problems be addressed in terms of dredging? And whether or not do you believe that this increase is significant enough to have an impact that is desired?
Well, it's not. Through you, Madam Chair, to answer the question in short is that we are looking at the dredging as something that has to be done, and if it means that we have to move funding around to get most of the rivers, especially the mouths of the rivers, clean, is something that we are looking at seriously.
Honorable Minister, and following on that particular point, I know that whether it's South Trinidad or North Trinidad, we've been seeing, for instance, the Maraval River. My colleague from Naparima raised the Guaracara River, which has caused significant flooding in both parts of Trinidad and Tobago. Would those two areas be prioritized with respect to this particular line item for that funding to be utilized? Or whether or not you have an existing list at the ministry in terms of priority areas?
Not from this funding. Okay. Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, most of those that you're speaking about is done under the DP program. So this money here is definitely will not be enough to do all that river cleaning and so, but we do have other programs that we do river cleaning from.
Certainly. So therefore, Minister, can you then indicate whether or not, what are the target areas with respect to the increase, with respect to this particular line item? If it wouldn't be used for those rivers and so on.
And submit to you on our program for 2018.
Member for Tabakit.
Item 28 under drainage. The contracted services referred here to, does this refer to the rental of equipment in part? No.
Right. The 09 is rent lease of vehicle and equipment. And which is the other one you call?
28, other contracted services.
28 is where we do projects, small projects.
So you're contracting out cleaning of a river?
Well, you have like the walls and so, and the silting. So some you do under 28 and some you do under the 09.
Would the rental of the pump, a pump at Mosquito Creek, be included under this?
No, that is under NIDCO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Member for Naparima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 15 again. I see the revised estimates, only $3,000 was spent for repairs and maintenance of equipment. Only $3,000. I knew you said that you were centralizing it and what. Are you satisfied that $3,000 is adequate given the problems that we experience this year? And could that have been the bottleneck problem why we could not deal with the problems?
No, the answer to that is no. That wouldn't have been the problem.
So 3,000 what, is a misrepresentation here? My car costs more than that to maintain.
What we do any repairs, any maintenance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could give it in writing.
I'll give it in writing.
Member for Oroput.
Honorable Minister, line 909, vehicles. I'm seeing here vehicles and equipment, but my question is, what vehicles are to be leased and from which company those vehicles will be leased from? And for what purpose?
I can't say which company will lease the vehicles, but it's equipment that they would lease from time to time. And because it's drainage, from time to time you might have backhoes, trucks, things like that.
Thank you.
Member for Princestown. Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to items 09 and 28, is there monies owed to contractors who leased equipment or who contracted services over the period? And could you provide a listing of the monies owed to those contractors, if it is in fact so?
Yeah, we will.
Okay. All right, can we therefore now move on to item 006, mechanical services, page 286. Member for Princeton.
Thank you, Madam. Honorable Minister, line item 37 and 43. Again, we are seeing an increase of 25,000 if you look at janitorial services under line item 37, an increase of 25,000. If you look at line item 43, security services, an increase of 95,000. Are there existing service contracts with companies, and therefore, if there is, why is there such a huge jump or an anticipated jump?
The answer to that, through you, Madam Speaker, is that we do have existing bills outstanding, and there's no increase in the price per se, but this is for.
Honorable Minister, the existing contracts that you have, could you indicate, and probably in writing, you may not have it right now, but underline item 37 and 43, what is the period of the existing contracts that you have? Or whether or not they are coming up for renewal, or whether or not it will expire? How you wish to treat with that in terms of sending it to us in writing is your prerogative.
Thank you.
So, are we complete with item 006, mechanical services, and therefore we go on to item 007, maintenance, pages 286 to 287, member for Point of Pay.
Line item 43, security services. Yeah, under maintenance on page 287, line item 43, security services. Is the minister saying in 2017 they had no security services provided? Because I saw in the revised estimate it was 0, and in 2018 you have now budgeted 423, but in 2016 you had an expenditure of 423 also. Could the minister explain what happened in 2017?
We didn't pay the bill. Okay. You sure it's outstanding bills? Through you, Madam Chair, this is for the outstanding bills that we did not.
This is a combination of
outstanding bills and that we did not pay in 2017.
Okay, just add, so you're saying that this is arrears for 2017?
A combination.
Of budgeted and arrears?
Arrears, yes.
Okay.
Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In item 06, water and sewage rates, I see that you have in the 2018 estimates sum of 200,000, an increase of $195,000. Is it because that you only allocated 5,000 in 2017, and that therefore the addition is to pay the outstanding rates?
Yes.
And that therefore you therefore do not budget for an increase in rates for 2018 then?
No, we don't.
Okay, so can we move on to item 008, construction, pages 287 to 288? Member for Princess now.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam, to the Honourable Minister, just for my information really, line item 58 with respect to medical expenses, could the Honourable Minister give us an indication of what that is about?
Through you, Madam Chair, this is for the daily rated establishment, because sometimes we have to send them for medical. Yes, because from time to time we do send them for medical checks, yeah.
Item 009, environmental health and safety unit, page 288. Member for Tabakit.
Mr. I note under contract employment that while you had budgeted $4.2 million in 2017, the revised estimate amounted to $2.669 million. and you were holding the same amount in 2018. Is it that you have reduced the number of employees in the environmental health and safety unit?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this unit is currently being restructured, and the intentions is to put some of the employees into the different units.
So are you suggesting that you are going to be closing down the environmental
No.
health and safety unit?
No, sir.
No.
No. It's just that we want to transfer some of the employees to the
monitoring aspect of
the
What is
monitoring
the
aspect.
what is the function of the environmental health and safety unit? And I emphasize safety.
What they do, they look at the different buildings that we have in the ministry to ensure that they are up to the,
projects.
and any projects that we're doing, health and safety standards.
So they would oversee, for example, contractors who are working on the highway projects and so on?
Yeah.
They would ensure that the contracts include
Yes.
necessary health and safety.
What they would do, they would look at the contracts as well to ensure that the contract have the necessary requirements for health and safety.
And with the expansion of work that you are doing now, completion of the Point Fortin Highway, Toco, Valencia, Manzanilla, what have you, by whittling down the size of the unit, are you going to be able to accommodate all of that work that has to be done?
Because most of those are done by NITCO.
And resetting the policy.
Yeah, and what we do is we basically set the policy, and then you'll have the different divisions, say, NITCO, whoever handling the projects. Remember, they too will have their health and safety departments. The ministry deals basically with the policy.
So NITCO has a health and safety department, and a health and safety officer?
I will confirm that for you. But what we do basically is look at the contracts and the policy going forward.
But it is clear that the unit is being whittled down.
It's been restructured.
That's a neat way of saying that it's not being reduced.
Well, it's not been reduced.
Thank you.
Member for Caroni Central.
Madam Chair, through you, I want to focus on contract employment, but I want to ask a general question. You know, when you were talking about drainage minister, you talked about the fact that a lot of the services are contracted. When we talk about the work on
I don't think I said a lot of the work has been, the services have been contracted. We do have contracted services.
Yes.
But we also do a lot
from the
in-house.
ministry?
Yes.
These are daily paid workers
Yes.
who do this?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the question I was going to ask. You know, you have nearly 4,000 daily paid workers. How are they deployed for all of these things? I mean, the Ministry of Works is a very extensive ministry in terms of the production that it does for the country. How are they deployed in relation to these contracted services that you have?
I will send you a breakdown on how it's deployed, but remember we operate with districts.
Okay.
So each district will have their cadre.
So it's regional distribution?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Item 010, Traffic Warden Unit, member for Princestown. Page 289.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, line item 16, contract employment, we see an increase of 107,000. But when you look at line item 37 for janitorial services, more has been allocated for that, an increase of 115,000. The point I wish to make and ask of the Honourable Minister is in light of the legislation that was recently passed, moving offences into violations where you will need stronger manpower, how then do you justify contract employment at 107,000 with an increase of only 107,000 when there's that required manpower that will be needed to effect the legislation? And then after you have on line item 37 janitorial services at 115,000. Again, is this 115 for bills that have not been paid, outstanding bills? So I'm particularly looking at 16 and 37. How do you reconcile the
Some of
two?
it will be for outstanding payments. And what's the other question?
The other one with respect to contract employment and the manpower that will be needed to effect the impending legislation with respect to the violations as opposed to offenses.
Remember, we're using a lot of technology in going forward with the violations. We're using technology, not necessarily more boots on the ground.
Well, Minister, respectfully, I don't see one working without the other in this scenario, because remember, this is not something that is existing right now. It is something that will have, according to the member for Shogunas West, it's a culture change as well. So, I mean, really, I don't see the reconciliation between not having sufficient boots on the ground and using the technology to get the desired effect that you want.
Well, it will be a combination of both, but it's not necessarily putting more boots on the ground.
In effect, Honorable Minister, are you then saying that there's no additional human manpower resource available?
It's not just the traffic wardens will be implementing that. The police will have a significant role as well to play in it. So, to answer your question, yes, we have these intentions of the new legislation, but it will not only be dependent on the traffic wardens.
And if I am to get you right, there will be no additional support through the traffic warden unit with respect to effecting legislation. Is that what you're saying?
They may be deployed differently.
But no additional support for the unit.
I am not saying that at this point in time.
Well, Minister, you may not be saying that, but the figures reflect that.
Are we doing the appraisal now? There is an appraisal of the unit that will go back to cabinet. That has to go back to cabinet very shortly for the whole appraisal of the traffic warden, which had started about a year and a half ago.
Member for Carney East.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, the value of 14.5 million, how many traffic wardens are now employed?
You just assist us with the line item.
All right, line item 16.
Thank you.
How many traffic wardens are employed under that contract employment? Okay. And a corollary to that question.
Okay, could I circulate that to you in writing?
Yeah, you don't have an idea?
I don't have the figures.
700, 800? All right. And Honorable Minister, the question is that there's necessity for more training of these traffic wardens, and your budget for training is only 7,000. Could you give that some active consideration somewhere along there?
That training is not for traffic.
Because as what my colleague was mentioning, the new legislation coming, where there's increased penalty and fines for violation of traffic wardens, we need to have them fully trained. Yeah.
Member for Tabakit.
Mr. Minister, I noted that in 2017, you had an allocation of 17 million for traffic wardens under contract employment. And that was revised to 14.393, which means that there was a cut of about $2.6 million between what you estimated, what you budgeted and what you estimated. Is it that you had a lot of traffic wardens who left the job, or what is the reason for that decrease?
Right. Through you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it was a combination between contracts coming to an end, and yes, some of the traffic wardens were poached.
By the police.
A lot of them even went into the police service.
Yeah. You said some of the contracts coming to an end.
Yeah.
Is it that because they are kept on contract and therefore they don't have any promise of longevity in terms of their jobs, that they are seeking to leave the traffic warden unit like they're doing in numbers?
To go back to cabinet. Through you, Madam Chair, what we are doing now with the traffic wardens is a performance appraisal of the entire project, the program, and once that is completed.
A performance review?
Review, yes, of the entire program. And that has to go to cabinet, and then the program then will be...
Does that review, Mr. Minister, include a review of the performance of the head of the traffic unit?
Yeah, everybody, the entire cadre in the program.
Mr. Minister, have you been receiving complaints from traffic wardens about how they are being treated?
I I get
Under contract
complaints-
employment.
Complaints and compliment. So it is something that they we take, but I do get complaints and compliments. So I wouldn't want to prejudge anybody at this stage.
Under item 13, sorry, 16, sir, is there any, in the future, do you intend to make these positions, not contract positions, but full-time, full employees?
I guess that depends on the review. After the review, that position will be taken.
Mr. Minister, under maintenance of vehicles, for a long while, traffic wardens could not come from San Fernando to Gasparilla because of the unavailability of vehicles for months. And you remember I referred that to you, and for 3 months there were no traffic wardens. Are you aware that that continues to persist
Well,
over time?
my information there.
Not in Gasparilla now, but from time to
Yeah.
time they
Well,
can't be moved?
Yes, from time to time they do have a challenge, but it's something that's being addressed. As you're aware, the Gasparilla problem have been solved.
Member for Couva South.
Madam Chair. On 17, it has been touched on the issue of training and probably finding additional resources. And on contract employment, Minister, could you really be definitive as it relates to how many traffic wardens contracts have not been renewed?
I will submit that in writing to you. I don't have the exact figure now, so I don't want to guess any figure. I'll submit to you in writing.
So those who were not renewed was subjected to a performance appraisal? Because I heard you say that something was being done for the consideration of the cabinet.
It is the entire program that we're doing a review on.
Mm-hmm. So on what basis were their contracts, whatever figure that you are to provide to this meeting, how or what was the basis not to renew their contract?
The contracts had a lifespan, and the contracts came to an end. But because we're doing the whole appraisal of the unit,
all right,
that will be determined after the appraisal is completed.
Member for Shigona Sweat.
Minister, who is doing this appraisal on the item 16, the contract employment? Who is doing this appraisal of the traffic warden unit?
Yes. This is being conducted by PMCD in collaboration with the Commissioner of Police.
Okay. And when is that expected to be completed?
Again, I hope shortly.
Member for Shigona East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, you indicated just now that you would be given in writing the existing complement of traffic wardens. Might I ask that you, on a divisional basis, in addition to saying the existing complement, what is the desired complement?
Sure.
So we can see whether there is a shortage and what is that shortage. And then maybe in your analysis or your appraisal, you might want to indicate how you intend to fill that.
I could also include where they are located. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on to item 011, Program Monitoring and Evaluation Unit, page 290. Item 012, Unemployment Relief Program, page 290. Member for Naparima.
This will be very brief. Unemployment Relief Program is a program designed to help those who are disadvantaged. I'm looking at item 08, $3.6 million in rent. And is the minister satisfied that such a rent is required in the circumstances, given the fact that the administrative costs in these programs tend to outweigh the actual amount of money that are disbursed to the people who are in need?
Through you, Madam Chair, this is something that have captured my attention, not only the rental, but the actual cost of administering the program. I give you the assurance that this will be cut down significantly in 2018.
Thank you.
Item 013, General Administration Transport, page 291. Item 014, Transport Division, page 292. Item 015, Maritime Services, page 293. Okay, so we're now moving on to subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, at page 294. Item 001, General Administration, page 294. Item 002, Highways, page 294. Item 003, Traffic Management, page 294. Item 004, Central Planning Unit, page 295. Item 005, Drainage, page 295. Item 006, Mechanical Services, page 295. Item 007, Maintenance, page 296. Item 008, Construction, page 296. Item 009, Environmental Health and Safety Unit, page 296. Item 010, Traffic Warden Unit, page 297. Item 011, Program Monitoring and Evaluation Unit, page 297. Item 012, Unemployment Relief Program, page 297. Item 013, General Administration Transport, page 298. Item 014, Transport, page 298. Item 015, Maritime Services, page 298. We now move on to subhead 04, Current Transfer and Subsidies, at page 298. Item 001, Regional Bodies, page 298. Item 003, United Nations Organizations, page 299. Item 005, Non-Profit Institutions, page 299. Item 007, Households, page 299. Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under item 00709, debit card system for URP employees. Minister, could tell us how this system works?
The debit card system was introduced in 2008. Yeah, 2008. There was a challenge with the check system at the time. You recall there were people lining up outside the, was it the central bank? The Treasury, sorry, the Treasury in Port of Spain and all the regional offices and so for checks. And in 2008, a decision was taken to go to the card system, the debit card system, where once you sign up with the program, you're issued a debit card and your salary goes to the bank rather than you have to go and line up to collect the check and so outside. And you have to, the challenge with that is that they had to provide all the requirements to open a bank account. It is something now that we are looking at because of the different regulations at the financial institutions where it's a lot more difficult to open a bank account, as we're all aware. So it's something that we are revisiting at this point in time.
Item 008, subsidies, page 299, member for Naparima.
Madam Chair,
Scuba West.
this is the Port Authority towards the deficit in the operations. Given that in 2016, the actual cost was 240 million, we see that the estimate in 2018 is 358.8 million, an increase of $118 million. Given the fact that we are talking about the government has been talking about value for money and the dire circumstances in which we are in, is the government satisfied? Is the government satisfied that the necessary stringency is being applied to this subsidy arrangement? And if so, what steps are being taken to contain expenditure?
Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, yes, there's an increase in the 2017-2018. But the member needs to be aware this increase has resulted because, one, we have a new cargo vessel. Two, this increase takes into consideration the tender that is out now for a new passenger vessel, which we did not have before. And it also takes into consideration the repairs and the dry docking for the 2 passenger ferries that is expected in this fiscal year. So it's not an increase per se on the existing expenditure, but it does take into consideration a new fast ferry, another fast ferry, and the dry docking of the 2 passenger ferries.
I'm comparing like with like, 2016 to now. And the vessels that satisfied the requirements of the coastal arrangement with Tobago. It worked in 2016. Are you saying that there are costs, there are objective costs that explain this increase? You're talking about a new cargo vessel. Are you saying that cargo vessels have increased now compared to then, or there's some other thing that we're not aware of?
Yeah,
Minister of Finance.
Yeah, when we looked at the request from the Ministry of Works and Transport on this particular item, it was recognized that the 2 fast ferries which were acquired about 10 years ago, the Express and the Spirit, were not in a condition to be in full service in 2018. This would require the port to lease ferries as replacements for these vessels, so that the situation in 2018 is a little different from 2016 when the vessels were in operation. Okay, so that what is happening, we own the Express and the Spirit, so there's no lease cost associated with the Express and the Spirit. There are, of course, repairs and maintenance, crew costs, fuel, supplies, that sort of thing. But since those 2 vessels are going to be refurbished in this fiscal and will not be then available for service on the route, you would have to lease vessels, which was not required in 2016. So that's the reason for that. That was the justification, and we accepted it as being a reasonable justification.
Minister of Finance, you're reiterating that you are satisfied that the necessary approaches were taken and systems were put in place to protect the taxpayers' money.
As a quantum leap, what I'm saying is that in 2016, we had the 2 vessels that we had acquired in 2005, 2006, operating on the route, but now those 2 vessels require major refurbishment, and therefore there's a require to lease vessels in 2018. That requirement did not exist in 2016, and therefore we were satisfied that this request for additional funding to ensure a proper service on the inter-island route was justified.
Member for Caroni Central.
Clarification. You are saying in addition to whatever is transpiring now, we have need to lease 2 additional vessels to replace the Express and the Spirit?
No, 1. That was what was presented to us.
Yes.
That there's need to lease one additional passenger roll-on, roll-off ferry vessel. Okay?
Member for Kabuto Mansanilla.
Madam Chair, it was for already 007, which had already passed. Thank
Member for Hoover South. Member for Shogunas West.
It's a continuation of 009, Madam. I'm on 009.
Okay, we're still on 008. Member for Caroni East, 008.
Could the Honorable Minister of Finance give an approximation of the repair cost that he speaks about and the cost for the temporary replacement of one of the passenger ferries when it is being repaired? So the one that is going to be leased in substituting for that one, what's the approximate cost for that? And what is the
I
approximate
can't
cost
give you those
for the
details.
repairs?
Perhaps the Minister of Works can do that in due course. But what I can say is that when we considered the need to lease one additional passenger ferry and the need to refurbish the existing fast ferries, the additional amount for all of that work, including the dry docking, refurbishment, and leasing of the additional ferry, came up to the additional $93 million. But I can't break it down for you. Minister of Works would have to do that.
Member for Tabakit.
Going to be used to effect the repairs of the two vessels.
Sorry, could you?
What's the procurement process being used to effect the repairs of the two vessels that we are talking about?
Process is being done through the port procurement. That process is being done through the port procurement regulations. And as you're aware, one is now at Carry Dock on dry dock, and the other one is expected to go on by the end of November.
Dry dock. Was that done by open tender, or was it a sole select?
I know it was carried out through the port's procurement regulations, and I can follow that up.
So did the ministry have any hand in approving the contract through the cabinet, or was it simply done by the port?
Those are operation matters at the port, the repairs of vessels.
Is the minister satisfied that the procurement process used by the Port Authority on this occasion was satisfactory?
Once the port has its rules and regulations for procurement, and once it's followed.
Was there a report sent by the chairman of the Port Authority to the minister? Because these are monies the port would not have. The monies are being subsidized by the government, by the cabinet. And does this have to have cabinet approval?
Yeah, what? That's the budget comes in. Yeah, so that's why the appropriation of funding for these expenditures.
No, but on this occasion, Mr. Minister, is it that the Port Authority was given full autonomy to go and have these boats repaired at Carry Dock or where have you and so on?
The port has a responsibility for managing the repairs of the vessels, and any procurement undertaken by the port must be done within the port's rules and regulation for procurement.
And given what has occurred,
and approved by the board.
And given what has occurred at the Joint Select Committee recently with respect to the Port Authority, did the minister seek to satisfy himself that the process used by the board of the Port Authority and the Port Authority was valid, was one of integrity?
You'd recognize that the vessel that is on dry dock went on dry dock a couple months ago. Okay, and subsequent to that, we had the information coming out of the Joint Select Committee. I know that the board at the Port Authority, commissioners at the Port Authority are ensuring that all proper regulations are followed with any procurement at the port.
Member for Caroni East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, there's a difference between the estimates and the revised estimates of 25 million for 2017. Could you help us appreciate the causative factor for that?
Sure. The 25 million, through you, Madam Chair, would have accounted for the procurement of the Cabo Star together with the dry docking, expenses for the dry docking for the TNT Spirit for
Okay.
2017.
Bearing in mind that the new vessels came on around about February to replace the SS Galicia.
No, it wasn't February.
February, March, were around it.
No.
So we would probably be dealing with about 6
No, I
months
think it would have been August.
difference with the increased costs. Can you give us the increased costs for fiscal year 2017 as a result of the introduction of these 2 new vessels for 20?
Well, there's just one vessel. There's just one vessel, which is the Cabo Star, which came on, I think, was at sometime around August.
Right.
July, right? Sometime around July. And there is an increase in the cost of the existing cargo vessel and the previous vessel is the Galicia. However, the cost might be in the range of about, maybe about $3,000 or $4,000
Per day,
per day.
US.
I don't have the exact figure.
All right. But could
For
you
you,
give
but-
us an appreciation of what the increased cost is going to be for fiscal 2018 as a result of that?
I can't give you a cost for the 2 vessels because remember there's a tender out now and we don't know what the price will come in for when the evaluation of that tender is completed.
Okay, let's permit me. The Honorable Minister of Finance indicated that the $93 million would be as a result of the repairs,
Yeah.
1, and 2, the rental for substitution of one of the vessels.
Right.
And that would come back to the original 265. But there is also an increased cost for 2018 as a result of your new vessels leasing. So why this figure of 358 is probably an under reflection of the actual cost and is possibly higher.
Well, again, this is based on our estimation, and if there is a increased cost, I am sure the Minister of Finance will make it available to you. But this is based on the estimations that we have.
Member for Naparima.
All right.
I'd just like to follow up on questions asked by the member for Tabakit. Given the problems that we have experienced with procurement on the port, if there are problems, are you satisfied that the procurement systems meet the stringent requirements of the financial situation which we are in? Have you reviewed it? Have you looked at it? And do you wish to give this House the understanding, the comfort that you are comfortable with the procurement approach by the Port Authority?
The assurance I could give this House is that the commissioners at the port are reviewing the process for procurement at the port, and if need be, to make recommendations to the ministry going forward. I can give you the assurance that the commissioners at the port are looking at this very seriously.
Member for Caroni Central.
Given that this expenditure has to do with payment for basically replacements to run between Tobago and Trinidad, my understanding is that the contract for the Ocean Flower is cancelled. Can you confirm that?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, the contract have been cancelled, so there's no existing contract with the
So
government.
there is no cost ascribed here to that.
To my information, there's no cost incurred to cancellation.
But a provision is made for another vessel.
Yes.
Okay. And that vessel, based on our understanding of the cancelling of the contract, is likely to be some other vessel procured, but not the Ocean Flower.
I cannot say there's an evaluation process. There was a public tender. I don't know the vessels that participated, so I cannot prejudge what the outcome of the tender will be.
Madam Chair, through you, are you saying, Minister, that the contract with the Ocean Flower is cancelled, but there is a chance that, or a possibility, that the Ocean Flower may in fact be considered as the procured vessel which will eat up part of the allocation here for that purpose in the 2018 budget?
Madam Chair, through you, there was a public tender, which you're all aware of. I cannot prejudge what the outcome of that tender will be, so I will not make any statements as to who the final, what the final evaluation will show up. That's an evaluation that will be done by the port, and the recommendations will come to the ministry. I will wait until the recommendations come to the ministry.
May I ask who canceled the contract?
The cancellation of the Ocean Flower?
Yes.
too?
Madam Chairman, there seem to be a lot of questioning on this line item. I think the minister has been very forthcoming on this line item.
So, Minister, are you answering this question?
Oh, cancel. This was a recommendation from the...
Madam Speaker, just for the benefit of the public and to prevent any misunderstanding of that line of questioning, I seem to recall that the Port Authority issued a public statement which is a clear answer to that question, that the Port Authority cancelled that arrangement for reasons given. So I don't want it left hanging here to give the impression that the government didn't want to answer the question.
No, but Madam Chair, that is precisely the answer I wanted clarified. So the Prime Minister has indicated that the port cancelled the contract. I then want to ask the Minister this question, and he may choose, to answer it as he feels a minister should.
Madam Chair, through you, the Port Authority is the government agent.
Yes, I understand that, and I'm not trying to make any...
Okay, so the Port Authority would have gone out for a tender on behalf of the ministry.
Yes.
On the advice of the Port Authority, the ministry would have cancelled the contract for the Ocean Flower 2.
If I may assist, Madam Chair,
this makes it a little confusing.
No. Let me. I will clarify. If I may, Madam Chair, the contract was executed with the Ministry of Works, so the Port Authority
for the Ocean Flower.
For the Ocean Flower. All right. So that contract, then, privity of contract is between the Ministry of Works and the owners of the Ocean Flower. So the notice of cancellation termination was done on the advice of the port, who are the agents, but it was done by the Ministry of Works because that was the party that had contracted.
Okay. And for the new tenders, Madam Chair, which is what I'm trying to make a connection with, that those new tenders are being administered and managed by the Port Authority.
Yeah.
Is that true, Minister?
Yes.
Okay. So any decision that is made, whether it is for the Ocean Flower 2 or for any other vessel, will be by the port, notwithstanding the fact that the ministry cancelled the contract with the Ocean Flower 2.
Yeah.
I just want to know the facts.
Yes.
Then let me make this very clear. This is a standard arrangement. The ministry is the client. And whenever a decision has to be made once the port has made the selection, it has to come to the ministry. And the reason why I want to make this very clear is because there are some other questions being asked as to why the ministry was approving vessel A, B, C, or D. Every single vessel, whatever the vessel, when it is time to sign off on the port's choice, it is done by the ministry.
Minister. Okay. Well, then that leads me to a very direct question to the minister. Were it to be the case, Madam Chair, that the port were by its tendering process to choose the ocean flower, which the ministry has indicated, the ministry cancelled, would the minister then consider at all taking that vessel for approval to cabinet?
Minister of Works and Transport.
Madam Chair, through you, I will not venture in presuming what is going to happen in a tender, and I will have no comment on that at this stage.
Wait then.
So we go on item 009, other transfers, page 30. Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under item 02, Agua Santa. Agua Santa, my understanding, is the bitumen producing plant of the government.
Yes.
I see that there is an increase of $428,000, which is welcome. Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, I'd like to find out from the Minister what is the capacity of this plant, and whether there's the production capacity of the plant, and whether there is any intention having regard to government policy for the to start a recycling industry with the imposition of the environmental tax on tires. And I know that there is a cabinet note seeking to have a crumb tire part of the creation of rubberized asphalt. Whether or not the ministry plans to utilize and set the tone for the other private sector in the creation of rubberized asphalt, one, and two, whether or not, what is the production capacity of this Agua Santa plant for bitumen?
Okay, let me...
Minister of Works and Transport.
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the ministry at this point in time does not have plans for using the tires in terms of the road bitumen. However, through the PURE program, we are looking at techniques for landslips, and so using tires if possible. In terms of the capacity of the Agua Santa plant, it's 6,000 tons per day.
Annually.
Sorry, the 6,000 tons is annually.
Member for Vancouver South.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. In respect of 05 water taxi service, there's a decrease of $4,961,696 in terms of this particular line item. Could the Minister provide the reason for this, and is there a contemplated increase in using the water taxi for the ordinary persons? Price rise, that is?
Again, Madam Chair, through you, there is no decision for any increase in price. The question is the increase, if I get it, you're asking about the increase in the water taxi?
No,
the decrease, sorry.
Decrease, and how it will impact upon the operations of the water taxi.
If you look at it, the estimate for 2018 is 54 million. In 2017, it was 36 million. There was a revised estimate of 58 million. That was because of repairs that had to be conducted on the water taxis. So over the estimate for 2017 and the estimate for 2018 is actually an increase.
Member for South.
No, Madam.
Okay, so member for Caroni East.
Bearing in mind, Honorable Minister, that the water taxi has been used to assist in the difficulties experienced in transportation to Tobago, what cost factor, if any, has been attributed to that aspect for assisting in Tobago? Or if it is used, when it is used for Tobago, does the route suffer from south to north as a result? And what
true.
cost factor is involved in that?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, there has been no interruption in the service because the water taxi would have been used on, basically on weekends, when there's no demand coming from San Fernando to Port of Spain, and whatever cost would have been bared by the Port Authority.
So generally, it might have been used more for the weekends than during
Just
the
for the
week.
weekends, yes, when the need for more capacity.
That's reasonable.
occurs.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Member for Tabaquit.
I'll stick with the water taxi, but I'll go back to Agua Santa in a moment. Mr. Minister, $54 million is going to be spent on the subsidy to the water taxi. What is the revenue of the water taxi in its operation from San Fernando to Port of Spain? How many passengers are moved? And thirdly, by how much are we subsidizing each ticket, given the cost of operating the two water taxis?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'd want to provide that in writing, but I just want to remind the member that the water taxi is also a service. Just like how we have the PTSC, and these are the essential services. But I will
But you would agree that it's important for us, the taxpayer, to know what the taxpayer is spending.
As I said, I will furnish you in writing, but I just want to remind you that it is a service that is essential and is fully utilized.
But would the minister agree that it might be worth the while of the government to consider the more active decentralization of services so as to cut down the amount of people who have to come to work in Port of Spain and therefore cannot get the transport but live closer to their areas, and therefore cut down on the cost of operation of these things through active decentralization, including decentralization through local government?
Minister of Finance.
These matters are always under consideration, and that's part of local government reform, as you know.
Which is 2 years now, in promise now, eh?
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in terms, as the Minister indicated, with respect to the provision of a service by the water taxi, and sometimes deemed essential, are you contemplating any additional stops for the water taxi?
Through you, Madam Chair, it is no secret that the country has some serious financial challenges at this point in time, and the water taxi, as the member for Tabaquit said, it's a fairly expensive service. So immediately there's no plans to extend the service. However, again, it's something that the ministry will always be looking in terms of once funding becomes available.
Member for Carneys.
I don't know if you have reached 011 transfer to state enterprises as yet.
I'm about to call it. Member for Tabaquit, you still have on 009.
Yes, I said Agua Santa was coming back too. Mr. Minister, you said that the plant is capable of producing 6,000 tons a year. Do we have how much the plant is producing now on an annual basis?
No, that's what we produce.
Okay, what we produced,
No, that is what we
what we produced was 6,000 tons.
It can produce more.
It can produce more. What we use this plant basically for is for the new patching program that we seek to mend. So we use the Agua Santa plant to produce the material that we do a lot of in-house patching with. And what we are producing now is approximately 6,000 tons.
Have you looked at the cost of producing 6,000 as against buying it at approximately $700 per ton supplied and put in place? What is the 6,000 tons cost you? A ton of asphalt now laid is about $690 to $700 a ton. That is supply and lay.
Okay. Again, what we use it for is patching. A comparative analysis was done, and we are we can compare with what they do. However, in the past, when you ask contractors to go out and patch, it's difficult to manage that, the patching. So we decided with the new program we have 10 trucks now, patching on a daily basis, and I want to compliment the Highway Division who have intentions to put additional 10. So we would have at least 2 trucks in every area.
So you're not,
patching.
Mr. Minister, you're not contracting out the service to patch right now?
No. It's all
Mr.
done
Minister,
in-house.
hold on. Then that can't be correct, because up to 2 weeks ago, Kusals was patching the entire road from Oropuch Junction to Faisabad.
Okay, that job is, was not a patching job.
Yes, it was patching. Patching about 40-something potholes left by WASA.
Okay, right. So what we are dealing with here is Ministry of Works. WASA probably would have contracted them. But once the Ministry of Works doing patching is all done in-house. WASA, on the other hand, may hire contractors to do patching for WASA purposes. So if you saw Kusal patching WASA holes, it meant WASA would have contracted Kusal, not the Ministry of Works.
We have to check that, Mr. Minister, because
Well,
your
I mean-
people from Ministry of Works were there on
No,
this
I
side.
have the directors here and they're telling me that we did no
Yeah?
patching there with Kusal.
Member for Caroni East, are we going on to 00011?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
madam.
so could you just allow me to call it? Member for Naprima, are you on 009 or 011? 011. Okay, so we now move on to item 011, transfers to state enterprises, page 300. Member for Caroni East.
Sub-item 07, Madam Chair, to the Honorable Minister of Finance. Could you indicate how much was paid for this rapid rail transit system so far? 23 million in 16, 21, and 17, etc. And how much is still being owed for the complete payment of the rapid rail transit system? How much was paid so far? And how much is owed? And how many years you estimate that we will complete the payment for the
Minister of
rapid rail
Finance.
project? That's question number 1, Madam Chair. Should I wait?
Yes, that information will be provided together with the amount paid on the 1.5 billion loan for the Point Fortin Highway. You'll get both.
Thank you. Well, I was going to ask for just a few more under this line item. The motor vehicle, NIP deck, that's 02. How much was paid? How much is to be paid? The 4 new fast ferries, that's 04 item. The El Socorro overpass, which we completed. And then the number, that is line item 05. Then, well, he said he will give, the minister said he will give it for 12.
Madam Chairman, to speed everything up, I'll give all.
You'll give all?
All.
Right, okay, thank you. How
Right.
much was owed? How much was paid? And how much is to be paid?
Member
again?
for Naprima.
All the information.
Good. We want to do the rapid rail.
Question asked by my colleague, and the repayment of the Trinidad Rapid Rail Transit System. In addition to the information he has agreed to provide, could he tell us the benefits of this loan? Thank you.
I will provide the information on the cost and the payments.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 1, transfers to state enterprises. The VIMCOT, the allocation is $10 million. Minister, this is an enterprise earmarked for privatization, for private sector involvement. Is this part of the policy to continue that process of private sector involvement in VIMCOT, or is it, because my understanding is earmarked for private sector involvement?
This is in your time?
In your time?
So that's your understanding of what's going on in our time?
Yes.
I see. We are looking at a public-private partnership. Answered you.
With respect to this specific organization?
We are talking about this line item, aren't we?
Okay.
Yes.
I member for Tabakit. And I just want to remind all members, please just ensure that their mics are on and that they're speaking
Sure.
in the mics. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, VIMCOT was set up originally to repair public service vehicles, police vehicles and so on. Is it that Vimcut has not been repairing police service vehicles again, or they're incapable, or is it that they're not being paid by the police service and so on for doing these vehicles that it necessitates this kind of subvention for the year? Firstly. And secondly, I noticed that a lot of police service vehicles are now being repaired by private organizations. So what it is that has made Vimcut, that's taking Vimcut out of the original core business that they were prepared to do?
Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, over the last, 10 years? Over the last 10 years or so, Vemcot have continuously had a reduction in the government fleet for several reasons. And maybe the time has come now, as the Minister of Finance said, that we look to reshape the model of Vemcot, because clearly the model is not working, and the government has taken a decision to look for a public-private partnership for Vemcot.
Mr. Minister, that lack of reshaping it, whether it's your government or any other government, has cost us $50 million in the last 5 years. In a country in which there are 800,000 plus vehicles. And one wonders why Vimcut can't get it right. And therefore, how long are you going to take to make a decision on getting it right with a company like Vimcut to save this country $10 million a year?
Through you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, that has been the $1 million question that I asked the first month I came into the ministry, and I am happy that we are actually going into the direction now where we are paying a lot of attention to Vemcot, because it cannot continue at the rate that it's going. Vemcot has recently gone into the car washing business, which is something that I find very strange, because I don't understand why somebody like Vemcot will have to turn to washing cars to survive. So I take your point that the direction of Vemcot has to change, and let's see what coming out of the Ministry of Finance public-private partnership. That might just be what Vemcot needs to turn around.
Mr. Minister, while I hear you, I don't necessarily agree with you. When people are placed to do a job, they must do the job and make the enterprise a profitable enterprise. And I think that in Vimcut, people are not doing the job, they're not marketing the services, and there's all the equipment, and you should take a drive down to South and to see what really goes on there in Vimcut.
Again, through you, Madam Chair, that is a problem not only at Vemcot. If we look at the Port of Spain, this should be a profitable organization as well. If you look at Petrotrin, they too should be profitable. And it is something that we have to look at as to the whole attitude by everyone working in the public sector. And I agree with you, Vemcot should be profitable, but it is not, and it cannot continue.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honourable Minister, on that same point with respect to the public-private partnerships you have indicated, can you tell us how advanced are these public-private partnership explorations, in that have you identified companies that you wish or who have expressed an interest with respect to these partnerships?
Excuse me, please, member. Somebody's device? Okay, member.
Because, Minister, what can happen is that we can hear for the next 3 years about these public-private partnerships and it never comes to fruition. What is your work plan with respect to these public-private partnerships, and how advanced is it at this stage?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is being handled by the Ministry of Finance, the Vemcot matter.
Look, can we put an end to this? Vemcot as a state enterprise is being considered by the corporation sole for a public-private partnership to deal with all of the issues surrounding Vemcot, its efficiency, its profitability, its relevance, etc. So we are looking at a private-public partnership for this enterprise.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I'm on item 07, and can the Honourable Minister indicate whether this sum that was engaged in for the feasibility study of the Trinidad Rapid Rail Transit System whether any part of that study or the study in itself is going to be used in the future for any purpose similar to what it was intended.
Minister of Finance.
Rapid rate.
Are we still on that? I thought we passed that. I thought that item finished. What's the question?
The question really is whether the report, the feasibility study, any part of it or the report is proposed to be used in the future for an investment that was made.
We took a decision because of the economic challenges facing Trinidad and Tobago not to proceed with that project at this point in time. However, there was a lot of information on traffic patterns, traffic demand, vehicle population, the behavior of drivers and passengers and so on, which has been of invaluable service to the past government and this government.
So we move on. 06.
Yeah.
We go on to you have a question, member, for Kumutum Hanson?
Actually, just to add to the list that the Honorable Minister of Finance, in his written response, if he can include what the, line item 17, what services were provided. That I know you would have had other things, but just to add what services were provided for the use of that.
Clear up. A lot of these items, if you're still on that one, 011, a lot of these are loans taken out by previous governments, including the one you were in. And I would think that that $400 million bond would certainly have been in your time.
Head 06, current transfers to statutory boards and similar bodies. And we move directly to the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure statutory boards and similar bodies and the Tobago House of Assembly. That's where the details are. And we start at page 391. Subhead. We are under 39 Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Subhead 01. Personal expenditure 001. General administration, page 391.
Madam Chair, just give us a little time.
Just give us a little time. 3 what, Madam Chair?
To get the book.
You have the comments?
Page 391, colleagues.
390, would you start?
Page 391, subhead 01, personal expenditure.
Where is that? Airport. Where is this?
And we're going to 001, general administration.
All right, okay.
Tabaki.
Thank you. Could the Minister explain why there's been projected a 5 million increase in salaries and cost of living for 2018 estimates over 2017?
Okay.
In an organization which is not earning its keep?
Minister.
If the objective of the government is performance management,
5 million.
if the objective of the government is to get productivity and value for money, are we rewarding incompetence and lack of productivity by increasing salaries?
At the airport?
Two things. We talk to the family, what is the surplus in terms of this thing? And talk to the family, we have certain vacant positions that need to fill, and we need allowances for collective agreement.
Okay. Through you, Madam.
Whenever
Through you, Chair. What was this increase is for they made the allocations for the increase in collective agreements, 1, and 2 for vacancies that has to be filled.
Member for Couva South.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Just connecting with what the minister indicated, that the $5 million increase in allocation is for settlement of wage increases and so on. Could the minister advise if the outstanding salaries or back pays as it relates to wage settlements that were realized between the employer and the recognized majority unions and so on, and how much is owed?
So there's one that is outstanding.
Minister?
Right, so there's one that is outstanding.
For what period and the sum, please?
What is the period? It's for the period 2012, 2014. Yeah, 2012, 2014, and that is for the security, for the security.
And what, how much is owed?
18 million, 80.
80 million we have paid out. We have paid more than 3 quarters.
Yes, it's about 80 million
About
outstanding.
80 million that is
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yes.
Could the minister advise this meeting when the sum of $80 million will be
Well,
fully settled?
It was much more than that.
It was 200,000 remain paid.
Yeah. It was 200 before.
Yes, Minister, I am
and it
very
is being paid
aware
in
of.
tranches, and this year,
The final payment is $80 million.
yeah, and the final payment is $80 million.
Is it, yes, but again, are you in a position to advise the meeting when will this sum of $80 million be fully settled?
I will send that information in writing to you once I.
And if I could ask, in terms of this allocation for salaries and cost of living, could the, through you, Deputy Chair, could the minister advise this meeting if he's aware of retirees who are currently employed at the airport authority drawing sums of salaries between $35,000 to $50,000 a month?
You don't have that? Through you, Madam Chair, I have no knowledge of that at this point in time, but I could check.
Mr. Minister,
will
could I
check.
point you in the direction of the Property Department at the Airports Authority and also a Deputy General Manager who retired sometime in June or July?
Yeah.
Could I just intervene here? The Minister of Works has said that he's not aware of that. You can't get anything more out of him.
Yeah, with all due respect to the Minister of Finance, Madam Chair, the Minister said he's not aware. I sought to advise him and to look in the direction. I do not want to name the persons, but I could inform you of their initials also.
One member for Couva South. I think that as it's not here, you will have an opportunity to interrogate that matter in some further detail in another forum. Okay? Member for Point of Pear.
Thank you, Chair. To the Minister, item 06, sub-item 06, remuneration to board members. 2016 has been consistent with 2017. Why is there an increase of $1 million by $400,000 this year?
We have 10 board members as allocation. We have 6 board members.
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, currently there are 6 board members. The full complement is 10. So the allocation was made in 2018 for the full complement of the board.
Just going on the issue of salaries and cost of living and so on, Mr. Minister, you indicated that 80 million was for the expired period. Have negotiations begun between the Airports Authority and the Estate Police Association for the current period and so on?
No, the negotiations have not started.
Any particular reason, Mr. Minister? Are we suppressing the collective bargaining process out here?
Madam Speaker, is that a line item question?
Question comes under salary and cost of living allowances.
The question is whether Could you repeat
You
the question?
indicated that negotiations did not commence for the current period, and I
No,
was
and the answer
simply
to-
asking, what was the reason, and if the collective bargaining process is being suppressed out there?
The answer is not being suppressed, and it has not started.
What is the reason for the current period?
Again, if you want that, I'll submit it to you in writing. But I don't have that information now.
And the person next to you who...
Member, please, are you asking a question?
Yeah, I am trying to find out the reason, Madam Chair, for the non-commencement of the
And the member,
negotiating,
and the member has indicated,
the negotiations, and for the current
member,
period.
The member has indicated that he will supply the reason for that in writing. Okay, it's not really a question that comes under item here, but the minister is prepared to answer, and he said he will answer in writing.
Madam Speaker, may I intervene just to draw your attention to the fact I want just for clarification. All the matters that we have here, I think are 8 heads, right? We are due to stop these proceedings at 8 o'clock. Is that correct?
I believe what we agreed, Member Fatigo Martin,
That we'll examine 8 heads.
We'll examine 8 heads, and we either stop at 8 or when the 8 heads are completed, whichever is the later.
Which is the later. So we could go until midnight. Well, that means, my concern, Madam Speaker, is that I notice a number of questions are being entertained that have nothing to do with the budget. And a lot of these questions are prosecuting matters outside of budgetary considerations. And I do not think that the government will be answering any more of the questions that are prosecuting matters outside of the budget. Because the last question, Madam Speaker, the last question about the progress of negotiations, that is not a budgetary matter. If the member wants to discuss the pros and cons of the pre-bargaining or whatever, that's a different matter. Otherwise, what we're going to do here is spend the whole afternoon dealing with 1 head, and then 7 more heads to come before daybreak, and then tomorrow morning we come back at 10 o'clock. Is that what you want to do? I'm just saying, Madam Speaker, that I've been in this process before, and we have... Whether you shut up or not is not my issue, Madam Speaker. I'm not saying that. I am not saying that. I am addressing the chair on a matter of procedure. And all I'm saying, Madam Speaker, is that if we allow the time allocated to be used for extraneous matter on agendas that are not budgetary, we will find ourselves with difficulty as we fade into the night. That's all I'm saying.
So, we are on item 002, passenger and cargo terminals, page 391. Item 003, airport operations, page 391. Item 004, runways, taxiways, grounds, and car parks, page 391. Member for Caroni East.
Just a short question. The reason for the increase in the salaries by $3.2 million, is it more personnel going to be involved or what? Yeah, 00401.
Yes, there's an increase in staff, right?
Salaries and cost of living allowance for personnel in runways, taxiways, grounds,
Right,
and
so
car parks.
it is a combination of the two, an increase in staff together with preparation for the increase in the salaries.
For the new bargaining process?
For the new bargaining process.
All right, okay.
Member for Chaguanas West.
005 when you reach it.
Okay. All right, so 0. Member for Chaguanas East, you're on 004.
004.
Yes, please.
Honourable Minister, the responsibility for all runways and taxiways fall under the Airport Authority to collect the respective fees
Yes.
for all runways?
Yes.
Does that include Camden?
Camden is not included.
No, Camden is not included. Camden is not under the airport authorities.
Who is it under, if you might be able to
So
advise?
the Camden is civil aviation.
No, Camden is, there's no allowance right now for this last civil aviation.
There's no allowance right now for the
Will it be under the Airport Authority or the Civil Aviation Authority?
neither.
Neither. So right now, it is on its own.
Yeah, Camden is, they don't report to the airport authority. The airport authority don't.
But does the I just want to get it clear. The regulations indicate that all runways and taxiways of airports, is it under the Airports Authority, or who has the responsibility or the jurisdiction for those?
No, under the Act is the Piaco International Airport and the Tobago, the N.R. Robinson Tobago Airport.
Camden is not a certified airfield.
And Camden is not a certified airfield. So it's not covered.
By the Airport Authority,
Yeah.
or?
No, it's not certified.
Okay.
Okay, so item 005, security, page 392. Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Chair, could the Honourable Minister indicate the complement of security staff under the issue of salaries and cost of living allowances? And secondly, overtime has been decreased considerably.
Yes.
And having regard to the fact that the airport is ought to have heightened security, how can you explain the decrease in overtime allowance by some $6 million?
We have 408 security personnel first, right? We have been utilizing technology, right?
Okay.
And much more efficient in terms of
Okay, so the complement is 408 security officers.
Is that the optimum level of security officers that is required for the efficient operation of the airport?
It's, the requirement is sufficient with
And
a
Piaco,
combination of technology and
Right.
manpower.
Through you, Madam Chair, the manpower is sufficient with the technology that is being used at the airport at this time. There's a combination of the manpower and the technology.
And how do you account for the decrease in the overtime? What is the management?
The reducing the
Reduction in overtime is like more efficiency in terms of managing the place with the use of technology.
Right. Through you, Madam Chair, the reduction in overtime is due to the more management with the technology at the airport.
Could you
Using
give us an
technology.
appreciation of this technology that you speak about?
You have more camera systems
Yes, surveillance
and increasing the surveillance system.
And integrated security.
South.
Just on a point of clarification in relation to the response that was given to my colleague, the MP for Chaguanas West. Mr. Minister, the organizational structure in terms of the airport authority from a security point of view. I just heard you through the representative of the airports authority indicate that there is a full complement of security officers existing at the airports authority.
I don't.
Is that a question or a statement?
Yes, I am asking, taking into consideration my colleague asked, and he was advised that there is an adequate complement of security officers at the airports authority.
There's a combination of security officers and technology that is being used at this time. A combination of two is adequate at this point in time.
And is there a deficiency of security officers in relation to the organizational structure of the airports authority?
What's your full complement?
In fact, we have 408 members of staff, and given the requirements, it is sufficient in the context.
Okay. Again, through you, Madam Chair, there's a complement of 408 members of staff, and that is sufficient at this point in time.
From a security point of
From a
view,
security point of view.
no deficiency in terms of the numbers.
But remember, you've asked that question
Three times.
three times. No.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to goods and services, electricity, 04, we're not there?
Okay,
Page by page.
Member for Keith, we still under 005. Is your question there? Okay, so we now go on to subhead 02, goods and services. Member for Naparima.
Apologize for jumping the gun. 04, electricity, and 002, water and sewage rates. I note that there have been no increases. Do you not think, Honourable Minister, that it might have been prudent to put in a figure, given that we know that increases are likely to come? And if this is done across ministries, to the Minister of Finance, if this is done across ministries, it means that we might be approaching a significant shortfall in estimates for next year's budget.
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't know, maybe the Member of Parliament has more information. I don't know of any increase coming in this fiscal year for these different subheads.
So, Member for Caroni East.
Sub-item number 23, fees. Could you just explain that? 23. What is that about? It's a broad, a small term, but big in nature. And 61, insurance of 10 million, with an increase of 4 million over 2017. What's that? Who is that paid to? Which insurance company, or is it a number of insurance companies?
Insurance.
And is it by tender that the airport goes out for tendering for this insurance?
Yes. Okay, let me deal with the fees first. This fees is a combination of legal fees and consultant fees. And the other one, the insurance, yes, it will be public tender.
For the brokerage.
Do you know the insurance company?
Yeah.
Is it one or more than one?
One or more than one what?
Insurance company that...
Well, you go to the international markets.
You have to go for reinsurance, aviation, and property insurance.
So this is done on the international market because of the aviation insurance and so.
Right. Could you give us the name of the company if you have it?
What company? It's a broker.
It's
It's locally for us to do.
Okay, I will have to get that.
Is it a local, or you don't know whether
It's
it's
a
local
local
or
broker. A local broker, but the reinsurers obviously would be foreign companies.
Could you give us the name of the insurance company in Trinidad, the broker?
Yeah. Okay.
And how much is paid to the broker, and how much is paid to the foreign company for reinsurance?
Yes. Okay.
That will be given in
yeah,
writing.
we'll get that in writing.
Right, okay.
Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 15, repairs and maintenance of equipment. And Speaker, ever so often, Chair, the down escalator in the airport doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's very, very often that you come and then you have the down escalator not working. And I saw that there is not an increase in your equipment allocation. Similarly, the baggage turns carousel, the baggage carousel, and there is no increased allocation. If you're not going to have an increased allocation, perhaps you have to be a much better deployment of the monies in order to ensure. Because I'll tell you, Madam Speaker, when you're walking down an escalator that is not working, you have serious hazards that are especially for the very old, encounter.
Are we going to get those fixes here?
I am saying in my allocation in three other areas.
No, this is it here. Through you, Madam Speaker, so the question is whether the $3 million will be sufficient for the repairs of the escalator and the baggage carousel. Is the question,
Yeah,
will the
yeah.
$3 million
Is it part
be,
of the allocation? Because
Yes.
there's no increase. From
well, no,
year
there's
to
no
year.
increase, but yes, that will be taken up in the repairs and maintenance.
Yeah.
Whether it will, you have that as being enough?
Yeah, that will be sufficient.
Yes, that will be sufficient.
Can I get, then, Honourable Minister, can I get a breakdown of the annual breakdown of the repairs to both the escalator and the carousel?
Sure. Sure.
Member for Caroni East.
Following a breakdown, the request for a breakdown, can we get a breakdown, Honorable Minister, for the line item 62 for promotions, publicity, and printing, totaling $3 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
002 passenger and cargo terminal, pages 392 and 393. Member for Caroni East.
Line item 09, rent, lease, vehicles, and equipment. Could you just give a little explanation of what that 12.2 million is paid for?
The lease agreement has come to an end, so we are estimating for the
Okay.
for
The lease agreement for the equipment has come to an end, so there's an estimate for an increase in 2018. And
No,
this
if it
is
has
for-
come to an end, you will have a
all the
reduction.
other equipments we have.
Or none. Line item 09, Minister, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah,
Rent, lease, vehicles, and equipment,
there's an increase of 2
million, yes.
Yes, because the existing lease agreements have come to an end, so there's provisions for an increase.
In case if you have to pay more for it?
Yes.
Could you just give us an understanding of what we're paying for?
It's vehicle leases, leases of equipment, including photocopiers.
All right, this vehicles leases will come to an end in April 2018. Lease rentals of photocopiers.
Okay.
Sonic units, those kind of things.
Yeah, and other units. And this is the vehicles that works on the runway and so. And these are vehicles that work on the runway and so.
Or what comprise the largest?
The vehicles that work on the runway.
Right, okay, all right. So you'll give us that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so 003 airport operations, page 393. 004 runways, taxis, grounds, and car parks, pages 393 to 394. Member for Tabaquite.
Are you sure you're getting all the monies that are supposed to be collected for use of the car park? Are you aware of extortion taking place at the car park? Line item.
We're talking revenue here.
Yeah, the
And what
general,
we're looking at
under
is
the general
expenditure.
car parks.
Yeah, but a line item, which item is it? I think the question is
All
really
right.
revenue and not expenditure.
Other contracted services.
Other contracted services, 28.
Yeah. What does that represent? Does that represent the people who work at the car park? Is that a contracted service?
No.
Now, those are employees of the airport authority.
The other contracted services will be for work, made contracted work for maintenance.
This is more for maintenance work and so at the airport. This is not the car park or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, they pay $40 to get a car park.
Okay, item 005, security, page 394.
Madam Chair?
Carries.
Yeah, just wanted 003, a line item 37.
003?
Yeah.
No, if it's 004, I'll entertain it. But because
Skip that.
I may have missed you when I went on to 005. But I'm so sorry, I will not go back to 003.
All right, don't worry, yeah.
Okay, 005, security, page 394, member for Princess now.
Madam, to the Honourable Minister, line item 17, training, an increase of 190,000 in that particular area. Could the Minister indicate what areas of training would this account for?
We are required under the IQ to make sure the security is.
Madam Speaker, let me answer that. If you look at the original estimate for 2017, it was 900. The actual expenditure was 510. So we gave them 700,000 this year. It's just a block allocation.
Okay, so we go on to subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, page 394. 001, general administration, page 394. Subhead 04, current transfer and subsidies, page 394. 007, households, member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could the Minister just under 01 pension contribution and 03 group health plan, just elaborate on what accounted for the increases under these heads of 1.5 $1,590,000 and $500,000.
Member for Caroni East.
I didn't hear him, Madam.
He said increase in staff.
An increase in
Contribution
staff.
and increase in staff,
How
yes.
much staff?
Yeah, so,
It's 9% staff is the same for this whole contributory pension plan. They pay to no increase in staff.
okay, so, is the same, no, it's the same figure here.
That-
It's not
that's-
an increase in staff, it's the same figure from 2017, 2018, if you look at it. It's not an increase in the staff. It is just that this is a contribution
told
factor.
me-
So sorry,
you
it's
told
not an
me an
increase in
increase
staff,
in
it's the
staff,
same
so
figure
I was
from
just
2017 to
seeking
2018.
clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, member for Caroni East.
We have this is for increase in
In
staff.
in the pension
They
issue,
put it
in
in
terms
here.
of the underwriting
They
and
put-
management of the pension for all these employees. Which company is involved?
The pension, who have the pension?
The pension plan is managed by First Citizen Bank.
The pension plan is, First Citizen Bank is a trustee of the pension plan.
009, other transfers, page 395. Okay, so we go on to 50, Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago at page 406.
I want to know what time we're taking the tea break.
Do I take it as that it is the wish of the committee that we take tea now? Okay, so the meeting is now suspended. We'll return here at 5 o'clock.